Good evening. Can everybody in the back hear me if I speak on this volume? Imagine different different spectrums, different layers. Layer 1, layer 2, layer 3, layer 4. You don't have to label it, but just different layers. Just picture a diagram with different layers. Or like a picture or a drawing of the ocean with different layers of current or different wavelengths. And each section in a sense has a different color, for example. Just separate these out for yourself so that there's this clear distinction, this clear visualization of different layers, different levels. Every level, in a sense, it represents levels of existence, just levels of consciousness within existence, or frequency levels. Every level in existence has its own points of view, the ways that it sees life, the ways that it understands and sees its present experience. We could also call these beliefs, in a sense, points of view or beliefs or perspectives. Each layer has its own sort of set of beliefs. Within one layer there is the possibility to expand your beliefs only till a certain point. And they're all going to have, every belief that you run into on that level of consciousness, they're all going to have something in common. There's something similar about them. They're of a particular level, they're of a particular vibratory nature. They have a particular feel to them. They have a limit to their understanding, a limit to how expansive these beliefs can be. If you go a level up, in a sense, then you naturally reach, from that point of view, you feel its freedom, which is great, it is. It's the expansion, so it feels like freedom. But as many of you who have been spiritually searching and practicing and finding and searching and practicing and finding and searching and practicing and finding and searching and practicing and finding, you will know from experience that one point of view that at first really did it for you, that first really liberated you, after a while it sort of grows stale. Have you had that before? Mm-hmm. You can use a particular pointer, a particular meditation, or a belief to sort of counter a way of seeing life that you previously didn't use, but now that you're using it, you're gaining the freedom, the sense of freedom. And maybe at that point you call that freedom, period. You say, oh, that's the freedom, this is the way it is. Because it feels free. It doesn't feel like it's another layer of beliefs. It doesn't feel like it's another layer of perspective. It just feels so much more expansive than the previous level that we call it freedom. But in a sense, it's just the expansion of consciousness. And once that starts to grow stale, there may be a seeking energy again. There may be a sense of not being entirely satisfied again. And so you search. In a sense, you have that urge for greater expansion again. And you again go a level up, in a sense, and reach that level where there is, again, different perspectives, different points of view that are more expansive in nature, or wiser, more loving, more in alignment with the idea that all is one. On each level of those perspectives, you cannot win from any of these perspectives. So let's just use a very common human one on a very basic human condition level, which is that of I'm unworthy. As soon as you grow up here, you're taught that you're unworthy. Basically, everyone, as I see it. So, on that level of I'm unworthy, there is no resolution to the idea I am unworthy. There is no resolution whatsoever to the idea I am unworthy on that level. It will always confirm itself. It can never compensate for itself. It can never find I am worthy on the same frequency as I'm unworthy. The level which holds the belief I'm unworthy, from that level there is no healing of that perspective. It's always going to be right. You can't win. Realizing this, the best way to go level up is to admit total and utter defeat. instead of fearing that it's true that you're not worthy, and therefore trying to fight your way through life, trying to prove you are worthy. Instead, just say, it's true, I'm not worthy. Admit defeat. Say, it is true, I'm not worthy. It's actually true from that perspective that I'm not worthy. Well, okay, if I can't do anything about it, then who cares? If I don't have to fight to compensate for it, to prove it wrong, if I will always lose, no matter how hard I try, no matter how close I get, then finally I can lay down my arms and I can just relax and be who I want to be. It's always going to be true from a particular point of view that you're not worthy, that you're not good enough, no matter how well you perform, no matter how perfect you do the things you do to perform, to compensate. That seeking, in a sense, that suffering, that searching, that striving, is that compensation, that urge to compensate for that conditioned idea of I'm unworthy. But that compensation happens from having a portion of your consciousness be identified with that belief. Therefore, a portion of your consciousness sees through the point of view, I am unworthy. And that portion of your consciousness feels the urge. It is that portion of your consciousness that's looking through the belief I'm unworthy that feels like it wants to prove it's worthy. You follow?
Yes.
So it's never going to win because it's looking from the point of view I'm unworthy. So whatever it finds, it will always be true. So admit defeat, very important. And in a sense you could call this a different way of looking at shadow work, if you're familiar with that. It's just to come to terms to own the fact that you believe you're not worthy, so that it can let go its grasp of it, or rather you can let go of that level of beliefs. So you can say it to yourself right now internally. What are you most afraid of in terms of personal failure? What would prove that you are indeed not worthy? What could you do? What could you mess up in life? What projects are you currently excited about that if you'd fail would mean something, would mean a confirmation of I'm unworthy? What belief in yourself, what negative belief do you fear could be true? What are you subtly trying to compensate for? And it usually is a form of I'm not worthy. It can be I'm inadequate, I'm a failure, I'm not worth anything, I don't deserve anything. But it's a sense of I'm not worthy, I'm not there, I'm not good enough, I'm not perfect, I'm not loved. So find that belief that you're afraid of being true. And say to yourself internally, I'm afraid that it's true that that I'm unworthy, for example. I'm afraid that it's true that I'm unworthy. I'm afraid that it's true that I'm not perfect. I'm afraid that it's true that I'm a failure. And just feel the honesty of that within yourself. Feel the honesty of admitting that. And now say to yourself, it is true that I'm unworthy. And see how that may cause some uncomfortability. Because you still fear that it's true, but on some level you believe it's not the whole truth. That's why you keep fighting to compensate for it. You're trying on that same level to reach a state and to reach circumstances and to look a certain way in the eyes of other people that it will look like and feel like you are worthy. What is just a cover-up. Does that make sense? Mm-hmm. So what does it bring up for you the moment you say, first you say, okay, I'm afraid that it's true that I'm unworthy. And you sort of sink into that feeling and you take a deep breath and you go, okay, that's true. And you just feel the honesty of that. And then you go on and say, and yes, it is true. I am unworthy. I can't escape that. It's absolutely true that I'm not good enough. On that level, from that perspective, I'm never going to be good enough. You're always going to be right. You can say that to your own belief. You're always going to be right. I'm never going to make it. I'm never going to be good enough. I'm never going to be loved. I'm never going to be perfect. And sit with that admittance, with admitting that, and feel how that can cause some uncomfortability and the desire to sort of escape and go into compensation mode again. But try to sit with it for a moment. Try to feel into it. Try to not be afraid of the fear that it's true. Don't be afraid of being afraid that it's true. Therefore, it can help to say it is true. And then you may go, no, it's not. Let me prove it to you. It's not true. I can do this, I can do that, I can do that. I did this, I did that. Doesn't that count? Just sit with the feeling where you say to your own belief system, it is true that I'm not worthy. And it's true that I never will be worthy in your eyes. In my own eyes, from this level of seeing, I will never be good enough. Ever. No matter what I do. No matter what I do. This belief is more intelligent than any attempt to compensate for it. You can never escape it. It will always checkmate you. So admit, full admittance, that that belief is absolutely true from its own point of view. Sit with that uncomfortability until it becomes a sigh of relaxation, a sigh of surrender, a sigh of letting go of the struggle to try and compensate for it. Because that's where the real pain comes in. That's where the real suffering is. That belief, that feeling I'm unworthy, doesn't mean anything. What's so bad about feeling unworthy? Feel it. What's so bad about it? Is it inherently wrong? It's just a feeling. I'm not good enough. I didn't make the cut. My daddy doesn't love me. My mommy doesn't love me. They don't see me for who I am. My teachers don't see me for who I am. My friends don't see me for who I am. My partner doesn't see me for who I am. I'm not good enough. I'm not loved. I'm not perfect. I'm a failure. What's so bad about that? Why are you running for it? Isn't it much worse to run for it for years and years and years and try and compensate for it? Isn't that the struggle? Isn't that the pain? Admit defeat, and you'll be victorious. Try to prove that belief wrong, and you'll always feel like a failure. But actually feel like a failure, and it will resolve. Because that will give you a chance to, when you arrive at that sigh of relaxation, that sigh of letting go of the stress and the struggle of trying to prove it wrong, that you will feel unworthy. That trying to prove to yourself that you are good enough. When you relax that, by seeing that you can never win that battle, that relaxation is actually a sort of like an ascension into the next level of consciousness, where there is different, more expansive perspectives available to you. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Does it make you uncomfortable?
Yes.
Good. That's good. Because you've been running it from so long. You've been running from it for so long. So I don't expect you, and you shouldn't expect of yourself, to have that sigh of relief instantaneously, although it's possible. But the fact that you feel uncomfortable when you say to yourself, it is true that I'm not good enough. The fact that you immediately feel the urge to go out and prove yourself. Prove it otherwise. And just see that that attempt, that very tiny single attempt, is actually a symbol for your entire life. That's what you've been doing your whole life, to some extent in your own unique way. And see, just look at that belief, or look at that urge to then escape it again when you say to yourself, it is true that I'm unworthy. And then that little, oh, no, it's not. Look at that and see that as your entire life. See that that encapsulates your entire identity, your entire life, your entire struggle, your entire search, even your spiritual search is polluted by it. Or especially your spiritual search. So sit with the uncomfortability, it's worth it. Sit with it, admit it again and again and again. Don't let yourself escape. See that truly it is true that you're unworthy. There's many perspectives out there that are absolutely valid, from which point of view you are absolutely not perfect. You're absolutely unworthy. You can come up with a lot of perspectives that actually see it that way. And so it's true. From these perspectives, there's a lot of perspectives out there from which it is true that you're not worthy, that you're not good enough. So what? So what? It's true that you're not worthy from these perspectives. Really sit with that and admit that to yourself. And allow the uncomfortability to be there. Give it as much of your spacious awareness as you can. Just sort of rest into it. Admit that you're not going to feel well for a little bit when you're doing this. Admit or accept that it's going to be uncomfortable for a little bit. But see that it's going to save you the rest of your life. So it's worth it, those few minutes. And the more you're willing to actually accept it and meet it, and the more value you see in admitting that from that point of view you're never going to be right. You can never convince that point of view. You can only shift to a different frequency where that point of view is no longer believed in. But that from that point of view it's always going to be true. The more willing you are to face that, the more immediate that transformation happens. Anything that comes up for you that sort of stops the process that you'd like to share? That we perhaps could use as an example for the whole group?
I get the feeling that if I were to change something fundamental about how I'm doing life or experiencing life, then I would be okay with myself enough to experience something other than the fear of unworthiness or the actual unworthiness, and it comes through in specifics with things I know I should be doing that would.
So what, do you feel anything is stopping you at this point from saying, okay, I see I'm afraid that it is true. I'm not even afraid to be unworthy, I'm just afraid that it is true. I'm not afraid to feel it. We're not afraid to feel unworthy. We're afraid that it's true that we're unworthy, that it's fundamentally true, that our nature is that we're unworthy. The feeling of unworthiness we're not really afraid of, we're just afraid of the fact that it's going to be true. That's why we keep compensating. So to admit that to yourself and to see, or to admit that you can never beat that point of view from its own point of view. And to admit that, and then to come to that sigh of relaxation, that sigh of healing, of stopping the fight, of checkmating yourself, and allowing yourself to, in a sense, advance or go beyond that level of perspective. Is there anything that's blocking you from that?
Are you asking me?
Mm-hmm.
I guess the main thing that's blocking me is I don't really believe that even if I accomplish the things that I know that I need to do to be a better person or more spiritually in tune, that even if I accomplish them, that I would have the feeling of I am worthy and I am okay and feeling bliss or love or whatever, that something tells me that even if I finished that list and was perfect at it, that I would still have this feeling. So might as well kind of stay stuck or not really put my energy there because it seems like it might be futile.
Mm-hmm. So not stay stuck, but admit defeat. It's true that no matter how good you become and whatever you can become good at, it's never going to be good enough for yourself. That point of view is never going to rest. So that's true, but that doesn't mean you're stuck. It doesn't mean there's no alternative. The alternative is to admit defeat. So totally that you don't care anymore about trying to prove it otherwise. Then you're free from the point of view. Then you're free from believing it. Then that portion of your consciousness which is looking through that perspective admits defeat, returns to its source, its whole consciousness, you, that whole beingness of you. And thus from that point of view, it will re-emerge, in a sense, on a level that's more proficient, that's more in alignment with itself. Does that make sense?
It does. It's hard for me to go from that making sense in my head to that making sense in a way that feels true, like an experience.
Right. Can you admit defeat? Do you have a particular belief like that? What will be yours if you feel comfortable sharing it?
Mine would be feeling like I'm absolutely okay and in this universe right here, right now, and despite life, because there's always going to be things in life, I can feel calm and peaceful and joyous and loving right here, right now, and actually experience it and actually have it be true. I feel like I tried for that, but I guess
But what's the belief that does not believe that?
I guess the belief is that I'm a human being and this is a condition that simply exists and that there's no real getting around it, no matter what.
How would you call that belief? If you'd bring it down to its bare bones, its essential, raw, negative belief, what would it be in one short sentence? I am...
That's a tricky one. I am lacking, or I am not able to be a certain state, that state.
Yeah, I'm not able.
I'm not able, I'm not able.
Can you feel that?
Yeah, I can feel that.
Do you fear that it's true? Is there some fear that it will be true?
Very much so. Especially when I try to do spiritual work or meditation work and try to alter my belief system of this human condition and maybe see past it, and maybe there's this something that I'm not getting. And when I look at it, sometimes I stop and wonder if this either isn't true or isn't possible, or even if it is, I'm not ever going to figure it out.
Other people can do it, but not you, right?
Right. And I don't even necessarily totally believe that other people have actually done it. Maybe they've just done something like we're doing now and really gotten good at tricking themselves into something that feels like that.
Can you say to yourself, it is true that I'm not able? I'm not able to reach that state. I'm not able in general, period.
I can definitely say that.
Yeah. Would you want to say that? Like right now? Sort of as an example. Everybody can join in internally with whatever it is for them.
It is true that I am not able to feel that, to be that, to be in that state.
And it's always going to be true that I'm not able.
I don't want to say that.
I know. And that's that portion of your consciousness which looks through that belief and makes its life into a journey to try to compensate for that and prove it wrong. But it's doing it from the point of view of I'm not able. So it can never, it's actually true. It's actually true that you'll never be able to do it from that point of view. So that's why you have to admit completely that you'll never be able to do it.
Okay, well, I admit that I'll never be able to do it.
How does that feel? Ever, like ever. Not just after never passes, then maybe then. No, ever, not ever.
I want to resist it. I feel like just coming here and sitting down and getting ready to listen to what you're about to say and meditating on that and working at that and going easy on myself, and that I'm going to gain it, that I'm going to get there. Right. So I don't want to admit that that's never going to happen.
Mm-hmm. So can you say it again? It's never going to happen.
All right. It's never going to happen.
Ever. No matter what you do, no matter how hard you try, it's never going to happen, buddy. You're never going to make the cut. It's for the elite only. And you're not good enough. You're not elite. You know that.
I know that, but I do clasp onto this idea that I might be. Like,
mm-hmm. You're not. Trust me.
Okay, all right.
I can tell you're one of those that are not able to do it.
Oh, I hate that. I don't like that feeling at all. I mean, that is completely admitting defeat. Like saying, well, that voice isn't going to be answered, that itch can't be scratched, then I'm just going to have to go through life and just kind of get what I can, and hopefully it's good enough.
You're not even going to be able to do that. Whatever alternative concession plan you've made, you're not able to do that. There's no escape, buddy. You're not good enough. Can you see that? Can you see that it's actually true? Those fancy ideas you have, you're never going to make them.
It's hard for me to see that as truth, to admit that. I'm trying to, but I keep wanting to believe in some alternative out.
There's an alternative, but from the level of that belief, it's absolutely true that you're never going to make it. And would you rather find the alternative, or would you rather try to keep working your way through that belief when you know it's never going to work? Isn't that better to admit defeat now than at the end of your life, when you're about to die? Why not free yourself from that strife by admitting defeat now? What's so bad about defeat? What's so bad about not being able to do that? What remains? What's wrong with that feeling?
I guess admitting that just feels dismal. Feels like, yeah, completely dismal.
Can you admit it anyway?
I don't know if I can.
Mm-hmm. Do you want to?
No.
Yeah. Why not? Do you have hope?
I do have hope.
For how long have you had hope?
It's gotten pretty close to zero at times, but I think I've always had it.
So how many years is that?
For as long as I can remember, I suppose.
So with how much of a percentage of your life have you tried to achieve that which you've hoped for?
100% of my life.
And if 100% of you is not able to do it, then do you think that 100% of you is able to do it 20 years from now? You are not able, see? I'm not lying. I'm not just telling a story. You're not able. Otherwise, you would have already been there.
And I've had that feeling before.
And it's true. It's actually true.
Okay, I can see that. Yes, I am not able.
And that's actually true.
And it is actually true, yeah.
Take a deep breath. So what? Now what? What's so bad about this? Does anything really change? You've been defeated. It's true that you're never going to make it, and now you know it. What's changed?
With that acceptance, you can kind of do whatever you want without caring about the consequences of what you do.
Mm-hmm.
And makes me feel, okay, well, whatever. If I truly believe that, which it's a struggle to see it, but that's the first thing that comes up is, yeah, okay, then nothing matters.
Still a little bit scary?
Yeah, it's pretty scary.
Mm-hmm. You realize, though, it's absolutely true, right? Like, it's actually true. Like, there's not even, it won't do you any good to build up any hope again, ever, for this particular point of view. Even the acceptance won't get you there. Even not caring about it won't actually get you there by not caring about it. It's just, you're not able to.
I feel like I'm going to have to really sit with that for a while before I can really let myself believe that.
It's not so much believing, because it's the truth. It's more seeing. Can you see that you've already tried with 100% of your time? And 100% is not going to get better than 100%. So what are you waiting for? You're only waiting, the only thing you're waiting for is not to achieve the thing you think you want. What you're waiting for is for you to admit defeat. You're just waiting for defeat. And that can be postponed as long as you like. If you prefer the state of waiting for defeat, waiting to admit that you're not good enough to make that you're not able, the state of waiting for that and planning your entire life toward that, if that's something you enjoy, then you can keep postponing that. If you're sort of fed up with it and you see there's no way out, then why not admit defeat now? Totally. Why not say, I'm done with you? It's okay. So what? I'm not going to achieve what I want to achieve. I'm not going to be what I want to be.
Well, I suppose it's worth a try.
To still try it?
I'm still trying.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm definitely still trying. I can't seem to bring myself there.
Do you like it?
No, it's very uncomfortable.
But it's not as uncomfortable as admitting defeat?
I don't know because I haven't admitted defeat yet.
You had a glimpse of admitting defeat a few minutes ago when you said, yeah, I can see that it's actually true. And was that so bad? Was that worse than the uncomfortability of trying and hoping and knowing in your heart, in your gut, that you're not going to be able to? Which one is more uncomfortable? That state of admitting defeat and relaxation and acceptance? Or the state of striving, trying to compensate, trying to prove the belief I am not able wrong by achieving the thing you want to be able to be?
Admitting it feels more peaceful.
Mm-hmm. Do you want that?
Definitely.
Are you sure you want that more than the hope that you are able one day, when scientists discover that 101% becomes possible? You see, it's kind of futile though, right? You see, it's a kid's fantasy.
I do see it, yes.
And you know in your heart, in your gut, that from that point of view, it's never going to work.
Yes, I suppose I do.
So you feel you're not able to eat. Can you feel that feeling, that raw feeling?
Yes.
That you're not good enough, that you're not able?
Mm-hmm.
And just feel the feeling of it. And don't go into stories and don't run away. Don't try to prove it wrong. Just feel the admittance of the feeling. Just feel the feeling, I feel not good enough. I feel unable. I am not able. And just sort of go through it. Let it be there. Let it be uncomfortable. Keep relaxed breathing and keep looking at it. See that there's an awareness of it. And just keep feeling it. Keep sort of trying to pinpoint where it is. Stick to the feeling, not to the story. Keep feeling the feeling. I am not able. I'm not good enough. I'm a failure already. Just feel that. What are you experiencing?
It's a mixture of something like some amount of peacefulness and still a lot of effort to keep from resisting, allowing myself to feel that.
Mm-hmm.
Feel a lot of resistance still.
So just take it gradually, gently, and yet, if you want it, radically. Meaning, if you're tired and fed up of believing you can achieve something from the belief, I'm not worthy. Just see the struggle that brings in your life. See that the hope for achieving it is actually the belief I cannot achieve it. The hope itself, which you are still attached to, the hope itself, which you don't want to let go, is the belief I'm unable. So while we think we're running away from the idea I'm unable and trying to prove it wrong, we're actually proving it right every moment. We're actually staying true to it. The hope itself is the belief itself. Can you see that?
I can, yeah.
And so can you see that from this point of view, it's actually true that you're never going to make it? Because even making it would be the belief I'm not worthy.
It's a hard one to hold on to, but I think
You get an instinctual sense of what I mean? That they're all tied together, what seems to be like failure, hope, and success, that they're actually one elastic band, just pulled into two different directions. But the direction of hope and even maybe possible success is actually just the opposite, and therefore is the belief I'm unworthy. Without the foundation of the belief I'm unworthy, there wouldn't be hope and there wouldn't be success. Because what are you successful toward? You're successful to proving wrong that you're unworthy. And so success is founded on believing you're unworthy. So you're continuously entertaining the idea you're unworthy. You're not able. Even standing on that mountaintop and reaching it, yes, 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 I'm able. You're actually saying, I'm unable. I still believe I'm unable. That's why I'm celebrating that I'm able, because I still believe I'm unable. And that's why it's not going to last. So it's actually true that you can never win. And it's actually true that you're never going to be able. Shit.
Yeah, I can see that.
Yeah. How does it feel? Mixed feelings?
Definitely mixed feelings.
Little sort of like an identity crisis. A little bit like, oh, not sure where to go, what to do.
Exactly.
Sort of like fragmented pieces of uncertainty or confusion. Perhaps.
Definitely a real state of insecurity.
Mm-hmm.
Like what? Well, now what? What now?
Yeah. And now what is the dawning of so what?
I can kind of get it. It feels a little bit like a smirk. Like, all right, so what?
Yeah. Keep seeing that it's true. That achievement is based upon failure. That you're no more secure or able or capable or desirable or worthy when you're on that mountaintop and you've achieved the thing that proves the belief I'm unworthy wrong. Because you wouldn't celebrate if you wouldn't still believe you're unworthy. You can't win. It's more intelligent than we are. The very journey is based upon it. We're playing by it. We're playing by its rules. Everything within the game of trying to prove the belief I'm unworthy wrong is playing the game of I'm unworthy. It's playing us. We're playing by its laws, its rules. We can never escape that world until we admit defeat. And that is exactly what it wants to hear. It's the only answer it will ever accept before it gives up its game. You are right. I'm not worthy. You see there's no escaping?
Yeah, I see it.
Do you like it?
Not really.
Not really. But do you feel an opening?
I do, actually. Yeah, I do feel like there's space beyond that. I don't know what it is, but it's...
It's uncertain by all means.
Right.
For sure. It's not what you thought it was. It's not what you've prepared yourself for. It's not the game of unworthiness. But that's why it's beautiful, because for the first time ever, it's not. You're not playing by the game anymore, by its rules. You're entering a new game. You're entering a new layer of perspective. It's expansion, it's freedom. It is unknown to the mind because it's unfamiliar with it, but it's not unknown to the universe. So it's not actually scary. You don't have to figure out the new rules. They're already there. You're already taken care of even in that level. It's not a new thing. It's known all the time, and beings experience that level of consciousness all the time. So it's not a new state, and you're not going to encounter any new dinosaurs that you need to fight or things that are uncertain. It's only uncertain to you. But it's not uncertain in and of itself. It's totally clear. So it's safe to go there. It's safe to go into the unknown because it's unknown only to us, not to itself. We are not actually creating that new level of unknownness. We don't have to explore the rules. They are already there. We're just entering that level. So there, it's already set. You're safe, you're comforted there, and there's many beings that exist on that level, etc. So the fact that it's unknown is not meaning that it's not safe. That's my point. And a part of your being has always already been on that level of self-awareness. So it's okay to let that hole rip open, tear, how do you say that? Yeah, rip a tear in the veil of that veil between the first level and the second level. If you want to see it like that. So that feels like an openness, like an unknownness. But let it happen. Let it rip. Because you can't win, and you've seen that now. So it's time to move on. You say bye-bye. Thank you. I see you. You were right all this freaking time. What was I thinking? I was playing by your rules, trying to somehow create a rule in your game with your rules. I was trying to use your rules to create a new rule. It's impossible. I was already game over before I even started. And yes, and you can give yourself all the space you need and all the love and acceptance and allowance and restful awareness you need to sort of let your system come to terms with that. The fact that it's letting go of something that it's lived in for so long may be a little bit disorienting at first. And if you don't try to grasp for anything you already know, and just sort of, the only thing you can grasp for that you already know is that spacious awareness. Grasp for that. If anything, grasp for that beingness, that love, that essence, that freedom that you already know, that stability of awareness. Be only that, hold on to only that, so that you can allow everything else to sort of find its place. And trust that that new level is already completely known to your being. You just haven't seen it in a while. And gradually, you'll start to see that it's actually very enjoyable to admit defeat. At first we don't want to admit that it's enjoyable to admit defeat, but we'll admit that too. Just because it feels so good that we don't care whether it's true or not. Whether that means we're not good enough or not. We just don't care anymore. It's the so what. If you let that now what be, that state of confusion and sort of like, I'm not sure, I want to move on. If you let that now what be there, it will turn into so what. It's bigger brother. In a sense, it's the lower self that always asks the higher self, now what? And the higher self always responds, so what? Great job, buddy. Thank you so much. Can you feel the freedom in this?
Yeah, I can definitely feel the freedom, and I want the freedom, and then my immediate observation is how much the previous state wants to pull me back into it. And I kind of just have to sit here and be like, whatever, no.
It can only pull you in if you believe you're going to win again. No game is appealing if you know you cannot beat the game. And it has no power over you if you don't want to play it. So the question is not, does the previous reality want you back? Because yes, it wants as much fuel as it can get. But it doesn't really have a will of its own. It's not like the game has a will of its own that's sucking you back. The question is, do I want to play? And if you admit defeat, then you'll see it's not so bad because it means you're free. And isn't that what you really wanted? You don't want a predetermined result within the game that makes you believe for a little while that you've beaten the game while it's impossible. It will always smack you down again. It will always win. That's a good thing. Because it allows us to see that we don't have to be interested in playing that game. That level of belief is always right. Period. You cannot be in this level of belief and prove it wrong. It's impossible. You can only move on and see things from a different point of view. And then these are still true from their own point of view. But you won't be experiencing these points of view. You'll be experiencing these points of view, which will not even see the things that that game played. You'll play an entirely different game. A game that resonates for you, that makes you feel free like you're already a success. But you won't be terming it like that, because there's no failure. On that higher level, even one higher level, there's already no failure. And beyond that, and beyond that. But even one level up, even just saying, I'm done playing you, I'm done playing this game, already on that very next level, there's no failure. And it only gets better and better. So it's not so bad after all to admit defeat. Actually, it is, meaning that you beat the game. The only way to beat the game is to admit defeat. Now you can smile and say, you're right. You're absolutely right, belief. You're absolutely right. I'm unable. And I'm okay with that. Thank you. Then you're no longer playing the game. So even a game that's unbeatable and that seems very selfish, it just always wins, is actually benevolence. Because the way to beat it is to actually transcend yourself. So its prize is the ultimate one. It's a very tough level, but it's worth the toughness, you see. That's why it's so tough. That's why it's unbeatable. That's why it's completely unsympathetic. That's why it never lets you win. Because you need to realize the only way to win is to press that off button, to see that you can't win the game, and to let go of your attachment to it. And you'll still have all the people in your life that you love. You'll still have all the activities in your life that you love. But you won't be doing them anymore to prove something wrong. So now the playing field is as it was, but it's completely open for a new perspective, a new light, a new frequency. You still have all the things you love. The only thing you're going to miss is the thing you hate. What's not to love about that? You thought you were so in love with your hatred that you thought you were in love with it. But really, you don't like it at all. It's not of your resonance. It's not of your frequency. You're ready for something new. For the adventure without the baggage. Without the trying to compensate. Let's stop trying to compensate. Whenever you feel you're trying to compensate, admit defeat right there and then. I won't make it. And sit in that until you feel the freedom of it. Till you feel the sigh of relief. Till you feel that you're no longer interested in playing the game. And then everything still is as it is, but from an entirely different energetic point of view. One that you love much, much more. One that's more beneficial.
Can I ask a question?
Yeah, for sure. Thank you so much. Appreciate it.
I'm trying to differentiate. I'm trying to get clear. I love this. Very freeing and helpful. And then the question, the confusion that comes in is, it's possible to just be irresponsible, to just not try about something in a way that's unhealthy. Like,
Anything that makes you feel freer, more unloaded, unburdened, by definition is healthy. Even if it means suddenly starting to eat unhealthy or indulge or whatever it is. If it feels unburdened and you feel inwardly more healthy, then whatever act follows for a while is the more healthy act to take. Even if it doesn't compute with anything we've been taught.
okay, so giving up
Doesn't mean you give up your integrity toward other beings, but you give up your ideas about what's healthy and what's not. And you start to really listen to what makes you feel freer and more excited and more joyous and more in your own harmony. And whatever that is, accept the physical consequences or your diet or whatever you're referring to. As long as it maintains that integrity, it's all good. But please go on if you want to explore
I think
it.
that the ego still gets trapped in here because it's like,
You mean you?
yes, because it's like finding a way to make that a confusing problem. Because, so I'm a failure. That's one for me. Well, but that doesn't mean it's a good idea for me to just not make an effort toward a career.
May very well be exactly the best choice to make.
But it doesn't mean it's a good idea for me to not take responsibility for producing my own means in life. You know what I mean? Right? I mean,
What
yes,
does
let
what
go
does
of
responsibility mean to you?
I guess the trap, I just want to make sure that I don't use it as a trap.
Sure.
The trap has been that something reaching perfection in some way is so much effort that I can't take the pressure, and I throw my hands up and give up in order to escape from the impossible pressure of the trap that I've put myself in.
Sounds good.
And then I lose my job or something.
Sounds good.
You know, or I do something really stupid. And
So far, so good. Because who would care except that portion of your consciousness which is looking through the belief I'm a failure? Who cares about not being responsible? Who cares about losing their job? Who cares about not being able to maintain their own life?
It's a little scary.
I know, it's scary to that portion of your consciousness which still believes from the belief I'm a failure that it can win, that it can beat the game from within the game. That's why it's scary. So what you're feeling is the remnants of that portion of your consciousness which is looking through that belief. That's what you're feeling right now. That's what you're observing. You're not actually observing the whole extent of your life or the entire extent of your consciousness. You're just observing that portion which is now triggered, which sees through the belief of I'm a failure. And that's the part of you that now fears that it's going to be irresponsible, or that fears it will use it as a trap. And similarly, that's often the portion of our consciousness that's afraid of spiritual bypassing. No, I need to suffer. I need to keep suffering until I've suffered everything out of my system. Why? Because if I don't, I'm a failure. If I don't, I bypass. If I don't, I'm not responsible. It's that portion of your consciousness which loves to torture itself. In the name of God, of course.
Yeah.
What's crazy to that portion of your consciousness is actually the right choice to make from the other 99% of your consciousness. In order to become whole again, in order for that portion of your consciousness to withdraw back into its whole beingness, its source, its essence. From that point of view, you may need to do a little crazy stuff sometimes a little bit crazy, out of the norm, because the norm is, when you feel you're crossing the norm, from that point of view, you're actually skipping out of the game. You're jumping out of the game's law, its zone of laws. That's why it's scary. That's why it feels irresponsible. As long as it's not sacrificing your integrity, your heart level integrity toward other beings, as long as it doesn't take away people's free will, you're all good. And as long, of course, as you don't, whatever, that common, what you would know as integrity and respect and loving thy neighbor as thyself, as long as it doesn't sacrifice that, do anything you like, lose anything you like.
I just see this escapism thing that I want to do. Be like, I don't even play this game anymore. I'm just going to take a vacation from this whole game. But then...
Why vacation? That means you have to get back.
Sometimes I...
That's great.
Well, but sometimes that can be just stepping off into dysfunction.
Which is scary to what? To whom? Is it wrong? Has
I'm
the
gonna
universe...
end up depending on someone else, so that I'm going to be hurting someone else. I'm going to be not carrying my own weight.
Has a
The way
tree...
where someone else has to.
Has a tree ever judged that?
I'm living with my parents. You know.
Do your parents have plants in the house?
I need to eventually not live with them. This is supposed to be temporary.
But-
Not just extremely excruciatingly uncomfortable for me, but also not supposed to be long term for them.
So let me get this straight. from the point of view of wanting to be responsible and trying it, you're living with your parents, right? From that perspective, has been prevalent in your life in the past so many years, or?
Well, living with my parents was accepting defeat to a degree and was letting go of some stuff.
Right.
I did not want to, you know, but it was like, well, this will take some pressure off, and I can, it's okay.
My point.
I'm
Right.
not a failure.
My point being that from your allegiance to that, what that portion of your consciousness calls responsibility, from your allegiance to that, you still live with your parents. So apparently it doesn't work. You can't win the game. That's the point.
Oh, there's that thing of it's just taking all this time and it's okay and it's the process and isn't finished working yet.
My other point being that if you wouldn't have that allegiance to being responsible and taking care of yourself, if you wouldn't have that fear, which is tied in with the fear of failing at it, you wouldn't live with your parents right now. Because you'd be successful. Because you wouldn't worry about being a failure. So you would make your own means by not trying to make your own means. Because you wouldn't feel responsible. You wouldn't be afraid of being a failure. Therefore you wouldn't play the game of failure, which you're meant to fail at. You see? So when you subscribe to these ideas of responsibility that are based in the belief or in the idea, I need to make my own means, I need to take care of myself, make sure that I can sustain my own life, that is induced with the fear of I'm not able to do that. I'm a failure. And like I said, and like we explored, you can't win. So if the belief underlying your idea of responsibility is I'm afraid to fail, and you're choosing to play that game and subscribe to these rules, guess what's going to happen? Since you can't win, what's going to happen?
You're going to fail.
You're going to fail. And you're living with your parents, right?
I already failed.
Isn't that a failure to your...
Yes.
Isn't it game over already?
37 years old, living with, yes, it's a failure.
There you go, game over. It's a failure to that belief, so admit it. Say, you were totally right. I'm so sorry, belief, for ever trying to challenge you. You're absolutely right. From the get-go, you were right. I was not able to do this. I'm a failure when it comes to taking care of myself. It's totally true. It will never not be true.
I think I'm seeing it from more than one point of view at the same time, and that's where the confusion about responsibility, because I also do see responsibility in a proper life that's not attached to being a failure.
Right.
So I'm seeing both at once, and then I'm trying to use
Right.
the same word for them.
They're not the same, exactly. Well, that's very good that you see that. So make a distinction there for yourself. Make a very clear distinction. What is true, heartfelt responsibility, and what is not.
Thank you.
How are you doing?
It's hard.
It's hard.
It's difficult.
Mm-hmm. What part is difficult?
Staying with it at
Staying
that level.
with what exactly?
With completely being defeated and
Why is it difficult?
I'm not really exactly sure.
Mm-hmm.
I've been experiencing something similar to this lately in my life, and I find it difficult as well.
Mm-hmm.
And I find it difficult because with the acceptance comes an emptiness, and with the emptiness is, it's not that it's frightening, it's that I'm unconsciously constantly trying to fill that emptiness in with something. So once I feel the emptiness of accepting defeat, then I feel an emptiness. It's a freedom, but then I want to put some emotion onto it. It should be, there's this emptiness, I must be sad about something, or there's a constant sort of need to fill the gap that gets created once I begin to accept defeat, fill it in with anything. So that's what I find difficult.
So how do you approach that?
It's just kind of a monitoring, trying to keep realizing that when I'm trying to fill it in, that I don't have to do that.
Nice.
And then I just have to do that over and over again, because I'm going to keep trying.
Sure, yeah. Sounds good. Just those short moments of remembrance. Would that work for you? Something similar? Just to not like try to maybe like turn it into a big thing right now, like maintaining something, but rather, okay, I've seen this and that's great. I've just seen this, and now just let it sort of take its course, but take those short moments throughout the day of just stopping to recognize your lightness, your beingness, and seeing whenever you're trying to get back in the game, just noticing it. And then with your present understanding, you're already up a level, whether you understand it or not. You can't change that anymore. You're already with at least one foot out of the game, which means the other foot has to follow. So that's just a matter of time. So you're already there because you've seen it, you've realized it. So with that, with your frequency already being higher, even though it may not always feel like that, because the old stuff can still look the same, but already being of a higher frequency, if you remember and recognize it the moment you're trying to play the game again, recognizing that from what's now already your natural frequency, which you cannot do anything about, it will transform. It will relax more and more already, because you're applying the same recognition, but now you're applying it from a higher level. Does that make sense? So just the catching yourself, not in a negative way, like, oh, I caught you, but like just catching it, like, I see it. And just again and again and again, very gently, and it will naturally alleviate those sort of post-traumatic symptoms.
Yeah, I can see that.
So you take it light on yourself. You don't apply the same energy of trying and achieving and needing to do it well to this. You just do the opposite. You just let it go. You relax. You give yourself permission to relax, enjoy yourself, be gentle, and appreciate the fact that you've already seen what you saw today. And then with that lightness, you just recognize it whenever you feel a little bit like, a little bit waning, a little bit uncomfortable trying something, and you just recognize the fact that you're trying to play the game of compensating for I'm unworthy. See it, see that there is no end to it, and you will naturally increase your frequency to the extent where you will no longer have any curiosity for this level, at which point it will never appear to you. Not in that way. New things will appear to you. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does, and that feels pretty good.
Okay, great.
Yeah.
Yeah, so don't get down on yourself now with this. Just like, blow it wide open and let it naturally unfold, and know that there's no way back. So just take it easy. And lighten yourself as much as you can. Give yourself that gentleness. And that. You've done the hard work, you've been honest and radical, now it's time to be gentle. There's a time for radicalness and gentleness. Sometimes it's hard to tell which one. But you've broken out of that shell, so that means you've had the courage, you've gathered the courage and the directness, the radicalness to transcend to a different level, and now it's just the cleanup surface coming along, and that is what sort of needs your gentleness and your lightheartedness and your joyousness. You've went deep, and now you can be gentle with yourself. Make sense?
Yeah, it does.
Okay, perfect. Feel better?
It's very pleasant. Yeah.
Okay, nice. Thank you as well for your offering and sharing that. Did I see you?
Yeah, I was wondering if you could be finding yourself doing the same behaviors but with different motives, motivation behind it.
Yeah, for sure, definitely. All that matters really is how you feel about it, like what your state of being is while you're doing it.
Because I was thinking about, trying to get more independent and get out on your own, and maybe if you were doing that because a different level of consciousness or whatever, truer to yourself was what was pushing you or motivating you to do it, it would feel a lot better.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm not sure if that's got anything to do with admitting defeat or not. And I'm not really sure if this admitting defeat kind of comes in levels. Could it come in levels and kind of waves and stages?
Sure,
as
yeah.
opposed to a sudden?
Sure, yeah. And you can ask yourself the question, why do I want to be independent? What may that be compensation for? Because if at the root of that movement to be independent, the desire to be independent, is a belief that you're not, or a belief that you're failing at something, or a belief that if you're not independent, then it means you're not your own woman, or you can take care of yourself, or whatever it may be. If such a belief is at the bottom of it, at the root of it, then know that even going the way of independence will end up as that failure belief thinks it will end up. Because there is no escaping that game. So it all depends on what the root idea is from which you make an act or desire something. So in that sense, you can admit defeat by admitting that you'll never be independent. And how does that feel? You'll never be independent no matter how hard you try. It will only be in confirmation that you're not independent, that you cannot take care of yourself, that you're not your own woman, or whatever it is. I'm just filling in, but it may not be the same for you. And just feel those core beliefs coming up then. And as they come up, you see that they're unbeatable. They're true. They're always true from their own perspective. And they always confirm themselves no matter how hard we play the game. They'll always win. To see that relaxes the need to be independent. And thus, you'll be independent. You'll be independent even from your need to be independent. So the true success, again, is to admit failure on that level, which is keeping you trying to search for something. Does that make sense?
I'm wondering what the next level is.
Oh, you got there.
Okay.
The challenges get more multifaceted at the same time, but less of a more natural part of your being. It'll be playful. That makes sense. And they're only as challenging or as struggling as you want them to be. As is the case with this too. But again, to take that lighthearted attitude with you also in the next levels. To just maintain that lighthearted attitude where you're not trying to battle your ideas and your thoughts. You see they're always true from their own point of view. But that really they don't have any control if you're not playing. If you're not trying to compensate for them. If you're not trying to prove them wrong, they leave you alone, or rather, your energy will leave them alone. Because there won't be any interest in proving that it's not true. It's only interesting to fill your life up with trying to prove you are worthy if you believe you're not. If you don't believe the belief, you can say it's true. If you can't say it's true, because that feels like you need to defend it, it means you're believing in it. If you can wholeheartedly say, you are true, believe, I am not worthy, if you can really say that, and feel free in it, then you're not believing in that idea anymore. That's sort of like the test in a sense. If you can say that it's true, if you can admit that it's true, anything. That you're stupid, that you're ugly, that you're... I'm not talking about you, just in general. Just so you know.
Try selfish.
Selfish?
Is a good one.
Okay, yeah, you're selfish, you're whatever it is. Whatever you believe and whatever you have been trying to compensate for, if you are able to admit that that's true, and sit with it until the sigh of relaxation comes in, the sigh of relief. That sigh of relief signifies that you no longer believe in the thought and you've transcended into a higher vibration of consciousness. That make sense? Does that help you practically a little bit more?
I think so.
Okay. It's just an exploring and sort of getting the hang of it, of seeing it, and playing with it. But once you do it 1 or 2 times and you get to that sigh of relief, it becomes easier and easier and more obvious. Thank you. Time flies when you're having fun. If you admit you're not worthy, you can experience that it's true and that it's absolutely never, possibly ever true. But you can't experience that it's not true that you're unworthy. You can't experience that you're truly worthy if you believe you need to prove it. Because you can only prove it to the belief that you're not worthy. And so you're playing its game and you're playing by its rules and you always find defeat. That's the purpose of the game. To not be beatable. So that you transcend instead of think you are something or somebody. So the secret is that you are absolutely worthy. That's why in the first place you feel an urge to prove the belief I'm unworthy wrong. It's because from a deeper level you know you are absolutely worthy, beyond measure. That's why you're trying to fight the game. If you didn't have that urge, that inkling, that intuition, you wouldn't try to compensate for it. You would just accept it. Oh yeah, I can say I'm unworthy. You'd be a zombie all your life. But no, you're trying to compensate, you're striving, because you know on a gut level that you are worthy. That's in touch with the all that isness, life. And from that place there is nothing but ecstasy and worth, because you are all that is. You're the desire of the one. You are the desire of the one. You are the one's desire. So there's nothing but worth. You can only feel this if you stop playing the game of I'm not worthy. Then that light can shine through, can open up to you. And that sigh of relief can come in. Because really, seeing that it's absolutely true you're not worthy is the same as seeing that it's absolutely untrue that you're not worthy. Does that make sense? So play with that. Let's see what happens. Don't care about what happens, but enjoy the bliss that comes in. Okay. 1 minute of just basking in our worthiness, our otherworldly worthiness. That which is not a thought, not an idea, but simply the fact that you are, the fact that you exist, the fact that you're not a mistake. There are no mistakes. That includes you. It's not that everything else is not a mistake but me. Nope. You too are not a mistake. Yes, you do. And you, and you, and you, and you. And me. You are born out of worthiness, out of ecstasy, beyond worthiness. You are obviousness. So obvious that you exist that the idea or question of worthiness doesn't even appear. It doesn't have to appear. It's a low vibratory game we play. And that too is worthy of being played. That too is born out of existence. Inseparable from existence. Rest in your natural nature. Allow that awareness of beingness, of self, of here, to just naturally just be here. Completely uncontrived, just aware of being, of existing, of your sense of self, wherever, whatever level that may be at. Just to allow an awareness to descend upon you, an awareness of self, an awareness of I am, an awareness of existence. Regardless of what the vibratory state of that sense of self may be, doesn't matter. Allow that awareness to descend, in a sense, to reflect back upon the sense of self, the sense of being. And just effortlessly allow that awareness to be there. See that it's already effortlessly here. Therein lies your infinite beyond worthiness. And it will become more and more obvious. Every time you expose, admit, and transcend these ideas. Expose them, admit that they're absolutely true from their own level and they're absolutely unbeatable. Admit that until you feel an acceptance of it, and simultaneously with the acceptance of it, you'll feel a light shine from behind, as if a back door opens, allowing a greater degree of light, a greater degree of bliss, a greater degree of freedom to shine through, because you've stopped playing the game the moment you admit it's true, until the point of the sigh of relief. That is acceptance. The state of acceptance, experiencing the state of acceptance. Admit it until you accept it. When you accept it, there is light. There is truth. There is expansion. Thank you very much. Have a great evening or night.